sixth house is the house of health, work, and service. The work here is not the career we have in the 10th house, but rather labor that requires energy, sweat, and tears. It tends to be more challenging because it represents that grueling dedication to a cause. It represents service, sickness, and struggles. So planets here tend to require a lot more attention and maintenance. Let's take a closer look at the sixth house and take every single planet through the sixth house. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive astrology. If you'd like to work with me, check out the link down below or book a reading with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you have planets in the sixth house, let me know down there as well. And if you struggle with kind of being overwhelmed and having a lot of issues and just being bogged down by working really hard, I would recommend getting some of my candles. Like Moonlit Trinity can be really good for health, similarly with the moon in Cancer. They smell amazing. And there's also Jupiter in Pisces, which is helpful for faith and optimism and recognition and success. As you know, if you've been following to me for a while, I take advantage of the lucky positive transits like Jupiter in Pisces, the transit we're not going to get for the next 12 years approximately, probably 11 at this point, but it's a very rare transit. So I capture the benevolent energy to be able to help people with tough placements as well as to help people going through tough transits. You can find all of my creations on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, in the shop category. So this is a video about the sixth house. I have done a general video on houses, breaking down how they're created, what their significations are. Check out that video before you watch this one. And you know, I said it, but I'll repeat it. If you have any planets in the sixth house, please let me know, and let me know what you think of the description I give them. If you have anything to add, that's always great as well. If you don't have any planets in the sixth house, it doesn't mean it's empty. Every planet, every house has a ruler. So you would look at the sign on the cusp of your sixth house. For example, for me, it's Pisces, and you would look at the planet that rules that sign. I'm a traditional astrologer. Actually, a lot of people ask me why I don't use Lilith, and that's part of it because as a traditional Hellenistic astrologer, Lilith was not used at the time, so that's why. But traditionally, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter. So if you are a Libra rising and your sixth house is Pisces, you would look or listen for Jupiter. So let's talk about the sixth house. Sixth house is a cadent house, and cadent houses are the houses with the least amount of power. We have angular houses. They're the first, the fourth, the seventh, and the 10th. And they tend to be the strongest. The planets in them get the most kind of visibility and power. Then we have succeeding houses, for example, the fifth house or the second house, which are the houses that are next in line to succeed as the Earth is rotating and they're kind of moving around. And cadent houses are the ones that were just angular, right? Like sixth house would have been seventh house, but now it's gonna have to become the fifth, and then it's gonna become the fourth. So it doesn't have as much power. And usually planets in the cadent houses are busy problem solving, right? Like sixth house is the house of health and it's the house of daily work. So there's a lot to do. It's not like the glamorous house as the 10th might be, where you are pursuing your dreams and getting recognition. Sixth house is also a dark house, and dark houses are those not visible from the ascendant. So the houses that do not make traditional aspects to the ascendant. And dark houses always have that energy of like, things here are harder to see, and the topics of the dark house can slip through the cracks, right? So we have second and eighth houses are dark houses. They both connect with money. One is your money, the other one is money other people share with you. and your money is really, you forget to pay the bill, you get too much stuff and max out your credit card, you can really mess things up. And similarly with the resources of other people, you have them one day, you don't have them the other day. And so sixth house represents health, right? And here it's can also easily be like your blind spot. If you eat too many sugary things, you can mess up your sugar and get diabetes, right? There's kind of things that can slip your attention and can mess with you. So like I said, planets here really need more maintenance, more care. Sixth house is also, to understand it really well, it's the house that is the joy of Mars. Mars is the planet of action, conflict, and sixth house is the place of hard labor, health, problem solving. So there's a lot to do, and Mars actually feels quite comfortable being in the sixth house. So like I said, sixth house is hard work, not career, right? Like not necessarily the passion job, but the work that you do to pay the bills. It's the service you give to other people, the energy you give to other people. Sixth house traditionally has been the place of like sick people, unfortunate people. And so sometimes when you have planets here, you're either serving those people or helping those people somehow. It's also the place, I call this chart the plumbing. Like I call this house the plumbing of the chart because of how much needs to be done here, because this house represents what you eat, whether you're exercising, how you take care of yourself. So, and similarly, kind of all the work you have to do in order to have your life running smoothly. It's the place of laundry and groceries and shopping and all kind of things that are so important to do, but they're not the most glamorous things. But without them, your life will fall apart, right? So sixth house is very, very significant. And finally, the other thing that is ruled by the sixth house is small pets. So if you have planets in the sixth, especially like Venus, the sun, or the moon, you're more likely to have a pet or have a strong love for animals, or even be a veterinarian or volunteer and help animals. So now let's take a look at the planets. I'm looking at the traditional planets, including the Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron, because these are the ones that I work with. So if you have the sun in the sixth house, starting with the fact that the sun represents father, your relationship with your father could be a bit distant because sixth house is dark, and sometimes it's a sign that maybe your dad was there for you in the sixth house way. Maybe they were there for you physically and very like helpful, but not necessarily emotionally there for you. Maybe the father had to work a lot. Maybe they were in the field and the job that required a lot of problem solving. So you grow up and you become someone who's also really good at problem solving. You likely have powerful organizational abilities. You know what needs to be done, right? The sun shines light. The sun makes things visible. So sixth house is like paperwork, getting things organized, doing the dishes, doing the cleaning. You're someone who is going to be on top of those things and like really, really good. And you can actually guide people. You can help people understand what needs to be done in their life. You can be like Marie Kondo, somebody who teaches people how to organize their life. You really need work that you will be appreciated for, right? Like you need to put your kind of heart in the work that you do and get recognized. And in terms of like health issues that you need to watch out for, a lot of times it could be the heart. You kind of need to pay attention to the heart, to the back and the stomach. And to feel better, I would encourage you to spend more time outside, to eat healthier, and like kind of pay attention to your posture and make sure you're not just working nonstop, because it's a very kind of hardworking placement. Make sure you're also balancing some of your work with creativity and play. Now, if you have your moon in the sixth house, moon represents what we need. right? So here you need to do work. You have a very emotional need to work, and you're likely to feel at home or have like a space at your job that feels very homey and very comfortable, where maybe you bring a plant from home. The moon represents the mother. So if you have the moon in the 6th house, it could be a sign that your mom worked in healthcare, because that's what, you know, 6th house laborers sometimes are, healthcare, law, or she was in a job that required a lot of kind of problem solving, a lot of attention. Maybe was very busy and not necessarily there for you emotionally, but maybe there in terms of providing. You are likely someone who needs to exercise, someone who needs to take really good care of yourself. Sorry, water. You also likely need clean spaces and kind of, you know, neat surroundings, because the cleanliness around you kind of brings cleanliness to your brain, to your kind of mental space. You may find yourself very comfortable in a nurturing job or in a nurturing career, and will be very intuitive and imaginative at work. You may actually go through a few jobs until you find something that you're emotionally aligned with. The health issues that I would watch out for is an upset stomach, or, you know, some kind of like stress-inspired sickness. So make sure you express your emotions and not bottle them up, because the moon represents emotions. Drink some tea, take care of your, eat well, right? Like maybe cut off coffee, and drink some herbal tea instead. If you have Mercury in the 6th house, Mercury in the 6th implies really powerful problem-solving skills, but there's danger of moving in too many directions and kind of spreading your energy on too many things and then getting frazzled and, you know, struggling with like stress and getting nervous. And so like you really can benefit with this placement. You can benefit from meditation and, you know, going outside, walking barefoot, grounding yourself, relaxing. But really good for kind of getting work done, knowing what needs to be done first, being a good problem solver. I have a friend who's a Gemini rising with Mercury and Scorpio in the 6th house, and she's in charge of a video department, of like a post-production department in one company, and she's so good at like giving directions to people and handling a lot of things happening at the same time. So this is something that you're likely to be good at. And whatever you do, whatever you end up doing, you need a job that, or you end up in a job that's very heavily communicative. There's like a lot of maybe emailing, writing, talking, texting, etc. And maybe you also attract coworkers that are very talkative. You may also be someone who knows a lot about health and kind of knows a lot about the latest trends. Of course, on the negative, this could make you a hypochondriac, because sometimes when you know too much, it's not so good. But on the positive, it means that you know how to take care of yourself. If you have Venus in the 6th house, watch out for issues connected to sugar, right? Because Venus in the 6th can definitely give like a strong sweet tooth, which will result in like issues with weight and sugar and kidneys. Here with Venus in the 6th, you're still romantic, but you become a lot more pragmatic when it comes to love. You look at love and you look at aesthetic creation and relationships in terms of what needs to be done. You kind of have this like approach of like nurturing, maintaining. So you're a lot more pragmatic, a lot more grounded. I have a client with this placement, and she and her partner kind of have this agreement about giving gifts that are productive and important and actually necessary, versus giving like flowers or things that will die and not, you know, not serve as great of a purpose. So practical gifts, kind of being aware of what needs to be maintained. You can also be very creative, but approach creativity, I think, through a more pragmatic ways, and you can date a co-worker or like find love at work. You're also likely to beautify your professional environment and surround yourself with beauty. tends to be quite positive, I think, in terms of finding the job when you have Venus in your sixth house. Depends, of course, on other aspects. And together with sugary things, because it's Venus, you can, like health issues can also be caused by romantic frustrations or romantic issues. So make sure you are balancing your relationships and your health. If you have Mars in the sixth house, Mars is in its joy in the sixth house, meaning sixth house is a place of hard work, and Mars is apt to do it. Like Mars is ready to take the task. So you're very industrious, very hardworking, very good at accomplishing things, and possibly someone who like enjoys exercise. Exercise can actually have like a really wonderful effect on your health. The health issues you may struggle with here are sometimes sexually transmitted diseases, sometimes careless accidents because you're just rushing from place to place with all of the things you're trying to solve, inflammation, and high blood pressure. So be careful of rushing and do things that kind of balance your stress level, like exercise, yoga, meditation. You can be very hardworking. You can be kind of like a workaholic placement, but you're not going to enjoy a job that's sedentary. Is that the word? Or is it sedentary? Let me know if you know. But yeah, like you need a job where you're moving around, where you're hustling and sort of talking to people. You're likely to enjoy work that also is very physical, maybe using tools, machinery, or like, sharp objects, blades. Like you could be, if it's Mars and Capricorn, being a doctor, being like a surgeon is perfect. But yeah, there might be more arguments at work, maybe more argumentative co-workers, and just more action. And you might actually quite enjoy it because you have Mars in the sixth house. If you have Jupiter in the sixth house, that tends to create positive relationships with colleagues. You kind of get along. You maybe use your wisdom to empower other people professionally or uplift them. I don't have Jupiter in the sixth house, but it's Jupiter ruled because my sixth house is Pisces. So there's definitely an element of like spirituality to what I do, right? And like empowerment, upliftment, sharing wisdom. So, let me know if you resonate with that and if you do something like that professionally as well. So it tends to be lucky in terms of finding jobs, but Jupiter is very kind of, you do what you want to do. I'll just be here for you. So sometimes you can be good at finding jobs, but you're not necessarily as willing to keep them. You might sort of get bored and go for the next job. So something to keep in mind. It tends to be protective of health, which could mean that you rarely get sick, and if you do, you recover pretty quickly. But Jupiter is very like spiritual and very, like your beliefs, your attitudes really affect your health. So if you're thinking, and that's like so true because I notice it in myself too, like I really believe in the power of like positive thinking. The moment you start thinking negatively, or you start kind of thinking that you're getting sick, sometimes with this placement, you can actually call it into life. So yeah. So make sure that you are kind of working on your beliefs, maintaining positive attitude. Make sure you're not overindulging, because Jupiter in the sixth house could definitely bring like a danger of enjoying fatty, unhealthy food a bit too much. But, relationships with colleagues are likely to be good, and you're likely to encounter Jupiterian, kind of happy, jovial, optimistic people at work as well. If you have Saturn in the sixth house, Saturn is always like hard, make it harder energy, right? So Saturn in the sixth house implies needing to do a lot of maintenance, a lot of working out, eating well, taking care of your body, taking care of your mind. It could be a very hard-working placement and give you really strong organizational skills, very like strong managerial ability, but it's not, like it can also bring hardship. It could mean that you are if you work somewhere, maybe you're not immediately getting recognized for your talents. Maybe it takes you longer to get a raise or a promotion. But then once you do, you stay in it. You work really hard and you can grow, right? Like Saturn is always like slow and steady, but then it's very grounded. That's why Saturn rules Capricorns. The sea goat, right? Like the goat that can climb, that can live in the sea, but also climb the tough mountainous surfaces. So it could be challenging, like I said, because you're doing a lot more maintenance of health and a lot more organizational work at work. But it's a gift as well because it teaches you responsibility and patience, and it also blesses you later in life. Health-wise, there might be chronic diseases that you're struggling or issues to bones and back. And so you really need to make sure you're resting and enjoying life and taking breaks as much as you're working hard. If you have Uranus in the 6th house, Uranus is always kind of electric, unpredictable, shocking. So in terms of career and work, not career because career is the 10th house, but in terms of work, you are not someone who will enjoy being micromanaged. You need your space, you need your independence. So having a business could be a good idea here, or having a boss who is allowing you a lot more freedom. You may have like electric ideas, unique ideas that you're known for, or you might be shocking, right? You might sort of shock people you work with. You will potentially enjoy unique jobs, maybe futuristic, maybe kind of different jobs, right? Like being scientist, like a meta designer or someone like that, right? Like high tech, science, electricity, etc. You might be someone who really experiments in your everyday life. Maybe you're trying new workout routines, or you're trying different diet. You're sort of innovating the way people do things. Maybe even your space around your space at work is organized somehow differently than everybody else would do it. And health-wise, Uranus can throw really like sudden, surprising health issues. Like you get a rash on your body, you don't know where it came from, it appears suddenly, goes away suddenly. And also like mental stress and nervousness can bring issues as well. So you can benefit from the same kind of things. You can benefit from like futuristic medicine, or like acupuncture, of course, meditation, exercising, and like figuring out new procedures that are just your own. Neptune in the 6th house could be a sign of being very spiritual in the work that you do. Maybe you have Neptune in the 6th, you see the spiritual work as a labor, something you really have to do regularly. You will be very happy in work that gives you a chance to care for others, help other people, or imaginative kind of work. If you have a regular job, you're likely to sort of daydream and, maybe forget things, because Neptune in the 6th can also be a placement where you prioritize yoga or meditation over doing laundry or something like that, or, like some kind of everyday life thing could slip through the cracks and not be as interesting for you. Running into people you work with who are maybe have like escapist tendencies, addiction issues, or struggling with those yourself is a possibility here too. And the health issues can be more confusing. They can be, something that doctors are struggling to diagnose. And I would highly recommend getting a second opinion and not necessarily experimenting with weird medicine. Instead, like trying to do earth kind of natural herbal medicine to take care of yourself, and leaning into spiritual work as well, doing meditation, visualization, dream work, etc. If you have Pluto in the 6th house, you may be very kind of obsessive and secretive about your health. You may have issues that a lot of people don't know about, like some kind of, health problem that you've been dealing with for a while, but you don't tell that to anyone. You can also be very like obsessive about cleanliness, where you really care about things being a certain way. And you need to do work that involves some kind of element of death and rebirth. So maybe you're helping people go through tough things, or you're a therapist, or you do work that is just like stimulating and important to you. And it's very important here, I think, to deal with any challenging health issues. It's important to express your feelings versus bottling them up, because then they can eat you inside and kind of fester, and expressing them can help you be more healthy. And finally, if you have Chiron in the 6th house, Chiron in the 6th house Chiron is always the wound, right? It's always insecurity we have, but something we can also use to overcome and help other people. So Chiron in the 6th creates issues with health, where maybe you've had issues growing up, maybe you've had some kind of chronic disease that stopped you from enjoying life as much, where you had to be very kind of attentive to what you do, what you eat, who you hang out with. So there may be like a certain wound connected to that. Professional matters can be a bit complicated. It might take you longer to figure out what you want to do. But this placement usually gives very, very strong healing abilities, and helping other people, interacting with other people, using your hands, healing them, being a doctor can actually be very, very healing, because a lot of times Chiron requires us to heal others, and it's literally the house of health. So by healing other people, you also address your own problems and you take care of yourself. And it could be good to pay attention to being hypochondriac. And this is all I have. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.